Hello judges, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Clement from 9A and I want to share my speech about languages. I hope you'll enjoy it. From the start, I always loved geography, the study of countries, flags, languages, etc. That's why I sometimes think about this question. How many languages are spoken in the world? According to the 2021 edition of Ethelog, there are 7,139. But how did they come up to that conclusion? How did they classify languages? That question made me more curious, and suddenly I think about another question a lot more. The question is, what exactly is language? I'm sure one of you would just search up a dictionary and say it is the principal method of human communication consisting of words used in a structured and conventional way and conveyed by speech, writing, or gesture. Well, it is right, but that is not what I mean. With that definition, does that mean a weird dialect of a language counts as its own language? Of course not. So now we need to separate a language from a dialect. Maybe dialects are more unique and it is still possible to understand other ones, and languages are more universal and harder to understand from one language to the other. With that definition, is it possible to separate them? Not quite. Danish and Swedish are two different languages, but the Danes sometimes could understand some Swedish and vice versa, without them learning anything. While languages like English have lots of dialects that some people can understand. I'm even sure some of you won't understand Scottish dialect because it is distinct enough from English accent while still being English. Language is dependent on but not only geographical locations. For example, English is obviously different from Japanese, Swahili is different from Hindi, etc. Language also depends on time. Maybe it could start from a small dialect in a small community, and then it expands and shifts. With just enough time, a new language will appear from that dialect. Or maybe a big language could shift on their own and suddenly arrive at a new language. With just enough time, it could be an entirely new language without knowing when or how. Sometimes a language couldn't expand. Maybe it is because the population is decreasing. Maybe it was already forgotten by the natives. But mostly it is because the world is changing. Without knowledge of the outside world, natives can't progress, and the only way to progress is to learn about them, specifically dominant languages. If devices can translate their settings to a specific language, people can't use those devices, so they have to learn another language and possibly forget their native language, which is dangerous. We have lost a lot of languages. The last one to be extinct is in March 2021, which is the Bering Aleut. Maybe some of us think those languages are not important, but imagine if English were the endangered language. Society still progress and could use another language. 很多人会说中文, o talvez español. That's why we have to preserve languages. Yes, language is confusing and weird, but languages are a part of history that we all live in. We could start by finding out about native languages around you and learning about them. Maybe one day, pikunane sakit luwih kathah. I'm Clement from 9A, and thank you for listening to my speech.